أهلا مرة ثانية, and welcome to Measure 6. Alright, this is going to be a fabulous lesson. Just the way we blazed through Measure 5 last time, now we're going to blaze through Measure 6 even faster. Now, I get a lot of people asking, how come our calligraphy up here is always wishing you a happy Eid? That is because here, Kul Yom Eid. Every day is an Eid, isn't it, when you're studying Arabic? That's why. Okay, so our goal today is, yes, we are going to learn to use Measure 6 in all the patterns, and it's going to be simple. This is going to be such an easy lesson that you'll want to run out and have a great time to celebrate. Okay, so let's get right to it. Last time, you remember, we talked about the relationship between Measure 2 and 5. Basically, all 5 was adding a ta on the front of Measure 2. All right, we had this shedda here. It stays in both cases. So 5 looks just like a 2 with a ta in front of it. And remember, Measure 2 was causative, which meant to cause whatever the basic meaning was. And 5 was reflexive, which was a fancy word for doing causative unto yourself. Okay, well, if you studied that and you learned that well last time, and we know you did, this is going to be a breeze, because all we're going to do this time is the same thing here. So we're taking our Measure 3, which you remember had the aleph, all right, the aleph in between these first 2 letters, and we're adding, again, that same ta in the front, and we get 6. So we've got 2 and 5, 3 and 6. Now I would have numbered them a little differently and it would have been even easier. Now remember, the meaning of 3 was reciprocal, to do unto others what they are doing unto you. Not exactly the golden rule, but it's the Measure 3 rule. Now, Measure 6 is also reciprocal. Yes, I know what you're thinking. A little bit confusing. So I really wouldn't get hung up on this too much, the difference between them. The context will make it obvious in every case. But what we say is Measure 6 is reciprocal with a plural subject. Another way of saying this, Measure 3 is reciprocal, but the focus is on one particular subject. In this case, the focus is on everybody. But that's really, the context is going to make that clear. But anyway, let's look at some examples. Okay. Here we have an example sentence. A talib yukatib ustadahu. Isn't that a nice thought? Just checking in to say hello. Okay, so obviously, let's recognize our verb here, yukatib. This is what measure? Exactly, it's Measure 3, as you can tell by the aleph here. So we have the student. Remember, kataba is to write. What was yukatib? Well, Measure 3 by definition means back and forth, so it means the student corresponds with his teacher. Now remember, always Measure 3s, they don't take a preposition, i.e. they're called transitive. In English you have to say correspond with. Sometimes some words need it, some don't. In Arabic we don't say he corresponds with. Literally, he corresponds this person. Why? Because this Measure 3 by definition means it's 2 people going back and forth. But the thing to point out here is, who is our subject? It's the talib. Who's the object? It's the ustadh. Okay. So yes, it's a mutual action, but who are we talking about? We're talking about the student. Although by definition this verb means that the teacher writes back. Here's an example of a Measure 6. Okay, a talab yatakatabun. First off, notice the difference. The ta, we hear the ta, so we know this is a Measure 6. But who do we have here? A talab, this is a plural, all right, meaning who? The students correspond, right? It's the same basic verb here, but who are they corresponding with? Each other, amongst themselves. So the interaction is happening inside this subject. See, and that's the difference. If you grasp this, you have the difference. Is the difference really big? No. Could you tell this in both cases just by reading the sentence from the context? Yeah. So even if you didn't know this rule, you would still understand it. Okay. Here's one more example. Now, the subject itself doesn't have to be a plural noun, but there could be more than one person. So here's another example. Same thing. الطالبة وأصدقائها يتكاتبون. So the student, the one female student, and her friends, again, they are corresponding with whom? With each other. This is the subject. So the subject can either be a plural noun, or it could be, you know, several single people all added together. It could be like, let's say, Samir wa Muhammad wa Ahmed wa Mahmoud yatakatabun. For single individuals, but they're plural. The point is they're all the subject. Or, even another way is we could have a sentence that says nothing more than netakatabun. Wa netta, right? Ne means we means more than one person. Me plus more than one person. So that's by definition plural. But you see the difference here, where there's still an idea of there's a subject and an object. Yes, they are doing the action back and forth, but the focus is on this one subject, whereas here we're talking about them doing the action amongst themselves. It's a minor point, and context is always going to make it clear, so don't get too hung up on the difference between 3 and 6. But remember, 3 and 6 both have this reciprocal meaning. Now you're saying, that's so simple, let's just wrap it up and say goodbye here. Okay, well, you know we got one of these coming for you. Measure 6 also has a secondary meaning. Now I would stress the secondary. This is far less common. I find when we tell people this, they start reading conspiracies into everything. The secondary meaning, this is really cool, huh? It's to pretend. Whatever measure 1 is, it's to pretend to be measure 1. Yeah, okay. He's liking that one. Okay, so what do we mean here? Let's give an example. Here, this is probably the perfect example. This is a measure 6 verb. Yetamarid. Well, you can tell it's measure 6 because, right, the ta, the aleph, so this is definitely measure 6. Now, what question do we always want to ask? What is the root here? The root clearly is marada. Marada. Clearly, you can figure out that that's the root. Now, then the next thing we always want to do is rack our brains and think, what word do you know from this root? And think of anything, no matter how strange and obscure and inappropriate it seems. Think of any word from this root. Okay. I see many of you have gotten it. Okay, some of you have. Some of you are asleep. Wake up. Okay, yeah. The word morid. Morid is sick. Morid means sick. Now, do the deduction. What's happening here? Yetamarid. To alright? It's to pretend to be sick. Alright, so it's for someone to pretend to be sick. Yetamarid. Alright? That's great. Alright, let's look at another example. This is a classic one from literature. This guy, he's a famous folk character in Arabic culture. His name is Joha. And Joha is known as a trickster or a joker. And what Joha has are a lot of funny stories, which he basically he gets away with insulting people. He insults kings and rulers and imams and rich people, and he gets away with it by being innocent. So let's look at, here's the famous word for Joha. Joha yetahamak. Joha yetahamak. Okay, now you would have to know what this root meant. Now maybe you know, maybe you don't, but the root hamaka is to be stupid. So what's happening with Joha? Yeah, Joha is pretending to be stupid. Okay, yatahamak. And this is what he does. He gets away with saying a lot of, insulting a lot of people by pretending to be stupid, and he makes things are actually he wouldn't get away with otherwise. Okay, so this is the example. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, how can I tell the difference? You just gave us two very different meanings. Reciprocal and to pretend are like completely different. Well, it's the context will tell you. If there's one subject, here, who is yatahamak? Joha. Well, Joha, remember, this is one of the reasons why it's so important that the measure 6 reciprocal has a plural subject, has more than one person. Because if you see it with just one person, then it means it's obviously the other meaning. It's the pretend meaning. Okay, so this is a good example, right? This one, to pretend to be sick, doesn't mean to make each other sick. And this is the way they work. These words don't have, in general, they don't have both meanings. It's not like they can go either way. Okay, so if we're talking about this person, he looks like a talib, right? If he is yatamarad, well, he's pretending to be sick because he doesn't have another subject. Okay, Joha is pretending to be stupid. It's not saying he and his donkey are mutually stupid. Now, if we had more than one person, it would be a little confusing. So let's give an example. There's a nice example. Isn't that a nice one? Okay, المسلمون والمسيحيون يتفاهمون. So, we want to know about this verb. Remember the root. I'm sure you recognize the root. Fahama. Fahama is to understand. So if we have nothing but this, you can tell this is obviously a measure 6 because it has a ta, right, added to it, and the aleph. Okay, so al-muslimun wal-masihiyun yatafahamun. Now, so we want to know which type of measure 6 is this? Which meaning is it? Is it reciprocal, or is it the pretend meaning? Right? Well, clearly it's reciprocal. Why? Because we have al-muslimun wa masihiyun. That's a lot of people. It's more than one person. So just go by that. The other thing to remember is the reciprocal is much more common. So don't be trying to read conspiracies. Aha, they are pretending to understand each other. No, they are. That's what it means, mutual understanding. The pretend meaning is far less common. All right, right now you're feeling good about these measure 6, I know that. Just before we go on, we want to point out one thing. The vowel pattern, exactly like in 5. Remember in 5, everything was fetas, past and present. It was all fetas and alephs, so all a sounds. Same thing with 6. Notice, yetamarid. This is another way you can tell, by the way, 6 from 3. Not only the ta, but 3 is going to start with u. Like, yumaris, yetamaris. Okay? Right now you're feeling good. Now, you're going to feel even better when you get the next part. Now, we still have to figure out the active participle, passive participle, masdar, place nouns, right? This is going to be easy. It's the exact same pattern that we've used for the last 4 measures, the exact same thing we did last lesson. Boom. Here they are. Here are some examples. You will instantly recognize which measures these are, right? Exactly. This is 2 and 5. Why? Because we have the 2 stem with the shadda, and we have the 5 stem, the tafa'al. All we did was plug this stem into the mu pattern, and we get this, right? Now, we'll even throw in 3 for good measure, so you can see 3. Look, exact same pattern. We're taking the basic stem pattern, whatever you get from the present tense verb, stick it in here. Remember, put a mu in the front in each case. The active participle has this little kasra. All the rest have this. And the passive participle and the place noun are exactly the same. Boom. We're not even going to bother going through them all one at a time. It's the exact same pattern for measure 6. So here's our present tense verb, yetafa'al. Right. Again, we put this mu in front. It's always going to be mu. for every measure with the exception of measure 1, they're always mu. Mutafa'il, mutafa'al, mutafa'al. Okay. Now we're going to look at the masdar. Again, it's going to be exactly like last time. Remember last time we just took the basic verb and we did put a dhamma on here, which is not going to be written in most cases. In most cases, this is going to look exactly like the verb. You're just going to have to tell by the way it's used. Boom. All right, that's simple. So let's take an example. Okay, here's a sentence, perhaps a optimistic and hopeful sentence. وصل مصر وإسرائيل إلى تفاهم على فلسطين. That would be nice. But what do we have here? We have our two subjects, Misr wa Israel, two countries, definitely a plural subject. What are they doing? They are wasala illa, right? Okay, we can recognize that there is a masdar form in there, even though it's not voweled. Okay, so here it is. Wasalat Misr wa Israel. What did they do? Okay, they arrived to something. Tafahum. Again, as long as you know the root, you're good. The root here, tafahum, fahama, to understand. They arrived at an understanding. Notice it's indefinite, and it's a noun. They arrived at an understanding about Philistine. Well, that would be nice. Hopefully they can do that. All right, so that's it. We're not going to belabor the explanation. You have plenty of practice exercises. Just note as we're getting up into these higher measures, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you'll find there are fewer and fewer words that exist, and there are fewer patterns that exist. So like not all of these words are going to have every pattern. They're not going to have passive participle, active participle in common use. If you look in the dictionary, you won't find them. Okay, so it's important to note that you can't just take any three-letter root and every single pattern is going to actually exist. Some of them, I mean, theoretically they could exist. If we needed that kind of word, we would have it, but the words aren't used, so they don't exist. So you can't just go making up words. Okay, so that is it. Thank you. We have made it through measure 6, and on behalf of my good friend Mowgli here, you can see how happy he is for your progress. He just can't contain himself. So we will see you later, inshallah. Shukran jazilan wa ma salama.